Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete,
And this is Derek.
and this week we're here to talk about something very special, which pretty much doesn't relate to Nintendo at all.
Not in the past few years, definitely not.
Practically, actually, not at all. We're going to talk about the 2024 Video Game Awards.
Hmm.
Some people call them the Geoff Keighley's,
Or the TGAs.
the TGAs. So Derek, just tell me,
Yeah.
did you watch them live, or when? What was your status?
I couldn't watch them live. I had a work thing that evening, so I came home. I started watching them at like 10:30, and I watched some of the big awards. I didn't really watch any of the speeches, but I watched all the kind of main trailers. I was up till midnight just speeding through it anyway, so I didn't really get the full effect. But I saw the big stuff. I listened to the orchestra play, and I saw all the trailers that I think I wanted to see.
So you're not really a true fan because you didn't call in sick for work.
I guess not.
Um, I gotta say, I think just my overall feeling before we dive into some games, I think it was a pretty great showcase. The one thing I did miss was there didn't seem to be any really inappropriate moments that created memes.
Yeah, no. What's his name? Joseph Ferris.
Is that the guy who makes It Takes Two?
Yeah,
Yeah, what did he gave a great speech, I thought.
I know, but I just mean like in other years, he's been the controversial guy.
Really? Okay. I mean, I was looking for more like the George Bush
Oh, the
Bill
guy who ran
Clinton
up on, yeah.
rabbi,
But he's the one
flute
who's
guy.
he's the guy. The guy was there.
Yeah, but it wasn't the same.
Yeah, he Joseph Ferris is the guy who said "fuck the Oscars" that one year.
Yeah, and he threw the F-bomb around a lot too this time.
Yeah,
Um, and his wife was there.
with their kids.
Yeah, yeah, there also wasn't any like overly embarrassingly long speeches that were inappropriate. So I was kind of looking for some sort of meme craziness, and it was pretty smooth, probably what
Yeah,
they want.
yeah,
But the announcements they brought were, I will say, there were so many of them. I almost felt overwhelmed, and by the end of the show, I said, "When is this going to end?" It's too long. It was too long, and there was just almost too many announcements. And this has become like bigger than E3. And we'll talk about this when we get to the games. I actually find it quite. I find watching CG trailers to be quite annoying. I also find it kind of annoying. It's like, hey, this game's coming probably in 2027. Here's a CG pre-rendered trailer. It just doesn't do anything for me.
yeah. It's funny. I was reading about that online, and people were saying, "Do you care about that?" And someone really gave a good point that I actually agree with now that I think about it, where I really don't like CD trailers if I have nothing to play and it feels like there's kind of a drought. But I really don't mind looking at what's 2026, 2027, knowing that I have so many 2024 games to play. I still have a huge backlog of great games. And there looks like there's going to be a ton of great 2025 games. So I'm kind of like, do I really care to see, again, we're going to get into it, like Naughty Dog's next game, knowing that it could be 2, 3 years away. I think it's kind of cool to see a glimpse of it. I do agree. I want to see the video game part of the video game. But again, just kind of saying, hey, this is what we're called. This is kind of a brief overview of what it's about. Great. Give me something to think about over the next couple of years while I'm still looking forward to the games coming out, in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. So I'm going to start off with the game. One of the early announcements that is on my. Well, I asked you to make a top five. What games you think were most exciting for you? I did the same, although I made some mentions of some other big announcements. One of the earliest announcements that really excited me was Ninja Gaiden Ragebound.
Yeah, that game looks sweet, eh?
It's from the developers from Blasphemous. It's wicked looking pixel graphics, and I didn't get a release date. Did you catch a release date on this?
I I think people said it was 2025 just based on how well done it was like how far along they are. But I don't think anything was confirmed as far as dates go.
But yeah. So, anyways, I gotta say the gameplay looks great. I think the team behind Blasphemous. I haven't played Blasphemous one or two. I think you
I
have.
played one, yeah.
I just wasn't into an uber hard Castlevania style game at that point, or Metroidvania,
It's honestly not as hard as it's like a normal Castlevania. Some of
is
the
it?
bosses can be tricky, but it's not like I wouldn't say it's a Souls hard unless you do like the extreme optional stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just I like Ninja Gaiden. I like the linearity of action-packed linearity Contra style level by level romp, and that's looks like just what this is.
Oh, you
Uh,
think it's linear? You think it's more like
that's how Ninja Gaiden's always been.
but okay, I just didn't know if they were trying to go for more Metroidvania.
I
I
don't know if that's how Ninja Gaiden works. I think if anything, it'll be like split paths. Maybe there'll be an upgrade tree. Maybe there'll be different endings. But I really don't think they're going to do like open world Metro. It's just not how Ninja Gaiden, even the 3D ones, is very much like here's the level, here's the boss. Here's the level, here's the boss. And I kind of like that. I don't think everything needs to be a Soulsborne or a Metroidvania.
fair enough. I didn't know that, but I totally agree.
So I hope it's that. I thought it looked awesome, and like unlike so many of these other games we're going to talk about, it showed gameplay.
You know what game it reminded me of is I feel like we both played this game but didn't finish. What was that game where it starts as kind of a linear 8-bit and then
The
it turns
Messenger.
The Messenger. So I loved the first half of that game, but when it became a Metroidvania, became that 16-bit and you just portals over, dropped the game completely. I really liked the streamlined of that, and this game made me kind of remind of it. And the fact that you kind of said it could be or it should be that streamlined kind of level to level gets me even more excited.
Yeah. And Ninja Gaiden is a cool franchise that's been a little bit in a weird place for a while
Hmm.
because the last few haven't been great. But Ninja Gaiden Black and the original Ninja Gaidens on NES are a great time. And this looks just awesome. So this is something I'm really looking forward to. Probably gonna get it on Switch 2.
Nice.
Uh, even though it's not announced, pretty sure it's gonna come out for it. Anyways, Derek, I have a whole handful of games here. Do you want to name off another game that piqued your interest?
Yeah, mine aren't in an order or anything, but we'll just jump back and forth. So I have one that you probably wouldn't have named. So Slay the Spire 2.
I
Um,
did notice it, but I didn't write it down.
so I don't think you played the original. I played the hell out of the first one. It's one of the few games that I permanently keep installed on my PS5 because I use it when, when when you take like 15 minutes for a new disc game to install. So when a new game's installing, I just jump over and play like a round of that. Super fun. So it looks more of the same. Looks like some graphical improvements, some new characters, whatever. But honestly, the first game is so addicting and so good that I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, it was funny when it came on. I noticed it. And I was watching with my girlfriend, and she's kind of like, "What kind of game is this?" And I said, "This isn't a game for me," but I said, "Somewhere out there right now, there are people screaming." Because I know how much people love this
So
game.
true.
I
Yeah.
know how much people love this game. So I was like, this is actually a big deal.
There's a lot of people that think Slay the Spire 1 is not one the best card deck building game of all time, but also the best indie game of all time. People like and the best roguelite of all time. Like people are like this is the game.
I would say that Hollow Knight is,
I'm just telling you.
personally.
Okay, I'm just saying.
I've never played Slay the Spire, so I can't really say.
Yeah.
So another game I'm just going to name off that showed gameplay,
Hmm.
and I think this is going to be on your list too. It's definitely on my list, is Split Fiction, by the developer of,
Hazelight, right? Yeah, Hazelight.
not Hazelight, the developer of It Takes Two.
Isn't that Hazelight?
I have never played it. Oh, is that the developer? I was just thinking it's the
Yeah.
Jason guy,
Joseph Ferris, I think.
Joseph Ferris.
He's the yeah.
So for one,
Hazelight.
this looks like an evolution of It Takes Two in a great way. I really like the stylus. It showed so many more gameplay options. It seems like the gameplay, from what I could tell, or also side note, it showed tons of gameplay. It's coming out in March. This is how you unveil a game. This
Hmm.
is Nintendo levels of unveiling. Here's the game, looks awesome, coming out soon. Get excited. Here's the gameplay. Like this to me. This is the game of the show. 100%.
Really? Wow. Okay.
100%. I'm gonna day one this on probably Xbox because I only have one PS5 controller, or Switch 2, depending. But it looks more. I did enjoy It Takes Two. Unfortunately, I didn't have a partner who was good enough to play it with.
Hmm.
So I only got about two-thirds through. And it's hard when you're playing with somebody who like is terrible at games. This one looks a little more approachable. It looks like they're mixing in a little more like basic 2D shmup gameplay elements. It's
Hmm.
not so dual analog, third-person shooter style gameplay. And just the variety. It's like on one side you're flying a dragon, you're on a slide. One side is fantasy, one side is sci-fi. It looks like just the we don't have enough co-op games like this where we
Yeah.
rely on both players to do it. So this is day one for me.
Yeah, like I'm a day one for sure. I also agree. Like I really like the idea of not only is it split screen couch co-op, but I really love that asymmetrical kind of co-op where there's times they're doing the same thing and there's times they're doing something completely different. And you almost want to play the game twice with the opposite character just to experience both halves of it.
Yep.
Um, and in a time where I'm sure people still play on the couch, but people are playing online more these days, and I really appreciate that both It Takes Two and this game, they've gone the route of saying, I understand that not every single person and all of your friends are going to buy this game, so we're giving you a friend pass so you can play with a friend. They can get the game for free.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so to happen with It Takes Two and this, it's a free friend, so you can give basically a code to someone else and they can play with you.
I thought it was local co-op only.
Nope, nope. I'm like 99% sure.
It Takes Two had online co-op.
Yeah.
I
Didn't
thought
you
that
and I
was,
you and I played online co-op together?
did we? I thought I only played local.
I
Oh yeah, we did play a bit. That's right. I thought it was
yeah.
patched in later or something. I can't remember.
Anyways, I'm like 99% sure that this is having that same thing where it's like invite a friend pass, where it's basically you can give it to one other player, a person, a console, and they can play with I think just you.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great. I actually really want more games that are focused co-op. Like you have to have two players for a designed
I
campaign.
like it only if it's not those live service it's kind of those tricky games where it's like, Diablo is if I had to play, let's say, a Diablo game where it's only able to be played by co-op, I'd probably hate it because like, I can't find someone else that invests the same amount of time all the time. But kind of a one and done straight shoot story, all the power to it. Like I love that idea.
But
But
Diablo is has to be designed for single player, for online, for four players. It's not a focused two-player game.
no, but that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't want a game that kind of you can grind for long, long hours, like hundreds of hours of gameplay, forced to be co-op. It's like the games that I really appreciate that are co-op are the games where, again, going back to this online idea, I don't have a lot of friends that want to play online co-op the same game as me and have the same schedule as me that can play those games for hundreds of hours. Like it's just not realistic. Like even Helldivers 2, which I loved, it's hard to coordinate with your friends to play. Where a game like this, it's like, you could beat in probably, I don't know, 4 sessions. You pick those 4 days, you get through and you're done, you're happy,
Not
move
even
on.
maybe two long day, 2 days. Like I, how long did it take to take? 10 hours?
Yeah, 15 hours.
It's not a crazy amount. That's
No.
one day
Yeah.
of hardcore. So yeah, this is great. You have a nice.
15 hours in a day.
That was a good segue, Derek, because
Yeah.
another thing they showed at the Game Awards was the new Helldivers update.
I was just about to talk about that, yeah.
This is something that's going to get me to play again. It looks like it takes place on Earth. It's got a new character, or sorry, a new enemy type,
It's a new race, yeah.
new race. So this is only the third race, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they're how many races they're adding, but this is the third one, the one that came from the original game, I believe.
Okay, and the they just launched with the two, right? Robots and bugs.
Yeah, and this is like a more advanced robot that also like takes over and enslaves humans. There's some kind of thing about it, like
It
almost
just,
zombies to
hey,
it.
it looks like a way to pull me back in. New
Yeah.
biome, new level, new enemies,
And I've been talking to
free.
people, I've been talking to some students of mine that have been playing this game religiously like every day still. And they're like, it's in the game's in the best place it's ever been as far as like balance, fun, everything's enjoyable. They said like right now is the time to play.
Is it free, the update?
I believe it is free. Yeah, I'm like 95% sure again.
Okay, because there's no real pay. There's no pay model in the game, is there? There actually, yeah, there is. That's how you
There's
upgrade faster.
you can buy the super credits to buy cosmetics
Yeah,
and buy the battle passes.
it'll be free, I bet. But that's something I think that's gonna come out next year. That's something to look forward to.
I thought it was out immediately. It's out now.
I gotta go.
Yeah,
I gotta go right now.
I think that it
I
like
really,
said
I didn't know that. I thought it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
announced for later.
No, I think people are playing it today.
Cool. Okay, so another game they showed. I'm gonna save some of the bigger ones till later, Derek.
Okay.
So another one they showed. I guess it's a twofer.
Let me know when I get a chance to share one, but you go.
Well, I have a feeling I'm gonna end up naming the ones that you're gonna name.
Okay.
Uh, they showed a new Virtua Fighter.
Hmm.
I love Virtua Fighter 4 and I played 5. I believe 5 is just 4. The one
I
that goes
played
on,
4.
Yeah, I really love that game. It's a little more of a technical fighting game. But they showed a little of this, a little snippet of this, and it looks great. Like a little gameplay, quasi gameplay snippet. Looks really good. Like the environments look really detailed. Like
I saw that too.
more than Tekken, more than I mean
Street
Tekken
Fighter.
Street Fighter is very 2D, right? You don't kind of go fight this way.
Yeah.
And this game looks like way more advanced environments than Tekken. Looks really, really good. Looks like there's breakable environments. That's really cool. I've been waiting for a game like this, like a fighting game where you kick and there's tables and boxes breaking and you kick through walls. Like really, really a lot of crunchy environments. Looks like this could be it. And it's by the team that did Yakuza, I believe, that developer.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to come out next year, but it looked
It's made by Sega, but I guess Sega's
Sega, the publisher, they also make Yakuza.
okay, okay.
And then they immediately after they announced this game called Project Century, which looks kind of like Yakuza in
I
the
think
old.
that is made by the Yakuza team.
I think they both are.
Okay, I didn't know they both were. I'm
I
not
believe they both
I'm
are.
staying
That's
out
why it's a
about this.
twofer here, both by Sega, both by that Rio. It's called like Rio Regata
They have a
or
lot of
something.
games going on because that would be three games in development by them.
Yeah, I mean, I believe they're a pretty big team. They've been pumping out a Yakuza game every year.
Yeah, because they have the Pirates on Hawaii one too.
The last Yakuza game was apparently great and sold really well.
hmm
Um,
People love them.
and I mean, these are just announcements, right? Like this could be Virtua Fighter coming out end of 2025 and the next game coming out end of 2027, the way these announcements roll out. Like who
Yeah,
knows?
I think Virtua Fighter is probably the one that's the furthest off. Um,
Well, the thing I know, you're right. The thing I noticed about this Project Century though was it kind of looks like it's similar to Yakuza, just like an advanced model of that.
mhm.
But they're very violent. Looks like it takes some of the comedy elements out. And it's like there's like stabbing in the neck and all that stuff. It looked kind of wild, but it caught my interest, and it's definitely something that those two games were on my list as like, oh, this looks cool.
Yeah, like Project Century just falls in the same category of doesn't really. It seems cool, but I'm not into the Yakuza games. That game doesn't really jump out to me. And Virtua Fighter falls in the like. I agree. It looks cool. Destructible environments. Virtua Fighter is one of those games I really did enjoy back when I was, I don't know, 14, 15. But I'm just not into fighting games. Like I just know it's one of those games I'd buy, I'd play for like 3 hours, and I just feel like, well, I just will never play it again. I'm never gonna be good at this game. I just don't have the time to invest to be good at a fighting game.
Me neither, but this one particularly caught my eye because of the environments. And I even if I don't buy it and get into it or buy brand new and get into it, it's still like exciting to see what I would call a major evolution of the genre. And
Yeah.
I really have always said I'm tired of static environment levels. It's something that not a lot of fighting games have really done. I'm trying to think of other fighting games. I know that you can like break through walls in a few of them, but like where you feel like you're fighting in a real environment with tables and chairs and walls and like bystanders, like it's just breaking out that they all feel so static. To make
hmm
a fighting game that doesn't feel static to me is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool advancement for sure.
Yeah.
Um, One game I wanted to talk about, I'm trying to pick games that wouldn't be on
Derek,
your
I
list.
wasn't done talking about those games. I've actually had another 10 points I want to make. I'm just kidding.
Is the game Stage Fright. I don't know if you remember this one. So this is made by the Overcooked team. We didn't get a lot of
Yeah,
gameplay. We got like 5 seconds of gameplay, and that
I
kind of
thought this looked awful.
really.
They showed absolutely no idea what the gameplay was. It
So
looked like
you're
one big CG fest.
it had about 5 or 6 seconds of the gameplay. I agree, it was this big CG fest, but really for me, I have a lot of faith in the Overcooked team. So I wouldn't say my hype is like out of control. I wouldn't even put this on my top five. I just was thinking about it a moment ago. It's just I like seeing what their projects are, so I'm really looking forward to this. But I agree with you. Like there
As
wasn't
an
much to.
as an indie title, I just don't. I feel like if you're gonna show it to us, you gotta give us a lot more. And I found like just the British comedy, the characters art, what they did show, I found really unappealing.
Okay.
Yeah. Another thing they showed, do you want to talk about that more?
No,
I don't
it's like totally shut my game down and move on to yours,
know.
onto yours again.
Well, I'm not saying all the games that I'm listing here are games that
No,
I
no, yeah, go
want.
go
I
for it,
actually
go
have a
for
few
it.
that I'm gonna talk about how much I don't want them. Um, They showed Witcher 4. I know it's a big announcement.
Yeah.
It's a CG pre-rendered trailer. Like I don't care at all.
The, the one thing I will say is this. The people that play the Witcher games and the CD Projekt Red games are, especially the Witcher, are so invested in story that this game, like this CG trailer, is big for them as far as story goes. Right? Like you and I care more about gameplay in the end, especially games that we haven't followed the IP. But for some people, they're like, oh my God, like series the Witcher, where's Geralt? Like, there's a lot of kind of stuff. I think for them to kind of chew on more than you and I would.
Sure. I guess if they care about that. I mean, I don't.
Your opinion is always like Peter's opinion, and my opinion is like, well, look at it from someone else's
I know. I
opinion.
just it's they are video games, and it's kind of like I'm just. I think we all knew it was in development, so it's not really an exciting reveal. And I guess it's just kind of like give me something new and exciting. Like show me a one little snippet of the world. Tell me something. I don't know. I just it's just not exciting.
Hmm.
And I even found like, you know, for some reason the opening trailer or the reveal of like another open world game, GTA 6, which was years away at the time, I found really exciting because it felt like it gave me a window into what that game's going to offer. This was just literally something I could watch on YouTube. Like it's just a CG cutscene. Um,
But I think that's kind of what the game is going to offer. It's like it's going to be very similar to Witcher 3, I think, just improved. Like I don't think it's going to be revolutionary.
I don't know. I mean, I never got too into Witcher 3. I played it at friends' houses, but people loved that game and said it was kind of pushing new grounds.
Okay.
I don't know. I just would like if they just even gave us some idea of what they're going to do exciting. It'd be like
Yeah.
imagine they showed off a new Elder Scroll 6, which they're working on. And the trailer is, which this is probably what they will do. It'll be like some crazy CG fest where some guy's riding a horse and fighting with a sword and whatever, whatever. And everyone's like, okay, like we've waited so many years. We already have another one that's pretty good. What's exciting about this? Like, what are you actually telling me other than just showing me a CG trailer of what? Then you get some nerds online being like, "Oh my God, but did you see like the knight was wearing the crest of, whoever, and that
Yeah.
crest is part of the lore that I'm obsessed with." Like, I don't know. I just think these are mass mainstream products, and I don't know. I get it. It's probably in a 2027 game. So
But that's okay. I mean, like, again, that's okay to me. It's like, I don't mind some of those games being shown now. Like we have tons of games that we can talk about that are coming in 2025.
yeah, not enough from this lineup.
Um,
What's your next game, Derek?
so I'm looking at games that are now basically just CG trailers, just kind of the big ones.
Yeah.
One that I am excited for. I didn't even play this much of the series, but I just like one. I think I played two of them, and I loved was the Onimusha announcement. Like I don't know if that was on your list, but I played two and I think three, and was like so into them. I loved to me, it's like a predecessor to the Soulsborne kind of style where it's just like, or it's like kind of the in between of like Devil May Cry into the Soulsborne style of like I just like the upgrades. I like the way you fought. I just was super into them. I wish I still had a platform that could play the older ones. Um,
They've re-released them, haven't they?
have they? Have they? I haven't
I
really.
think so. You
They
can play
probably are.
Onimusha
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3 on PS3 or 4, Xbox.
Yeah. I should look into that.
I think
But
there's a few even on Switch.
oh,
I could be wrong.
but anyway, it looks it said 2026 in the trailer, so I know it's a ways off. But it's just nice to be like, oh, this franchise is coming back.
I mean, it is exciting that it's going back. For one, I'm surprised they didn't just call it Onimusha 4. That would have been kind of exciting versus just they just call it Onimusha.
Yeah.
I don't like when they do that. It's like when they called God of War 2018.
God of War. Well,
It's like,
it has a subtitle on Onimusha.
oh, it does. Okay. The other thing I noticed about it was it seemed like it was very much like another Soulsborne game from the trailer.
Or a sec kind
Uh,
of like a Sekiro, yeah.
yeah, and I'm just like, it feels like a lot of games are chasing that, and it's just
But
like
I don't think it actually will be. Again, like I think it'll be kind of that mix between Devil May Cry and Soulsborne. Like I could see it more like a Stellar Blade kind of game. where it
Okay,
has a little bit more of that fast-paced action, a little bit more of the Bayonetta kind of style.
like
Um,
linear levels, more.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, exactly. Not a huge sprawling kind of map and you coils in on itself. But I could see the bosses being difficult, but it doesn't necessarily mean Soulsborne, if that makes sense.
Okay, I just felt like some of the trailer looked like that. I don't know. It just,
Yeah,
I guess without the title, the trailer wouldn't have done anything for me.
me too. Like totally. Mine's all just on the name of I'm excited to play it.
Yeah. Speaking of Capcom, another big announcement. I missed this, but I saw it. I heard about it after. Is Okami sequel to Okami?
Oh yeah, but made by yeah,
Kamiya,
yeah,
which is really cool. I guess he's left Platinum.
yeah.
Um,
He made a new studio, Studio Clovers, I think.
yeah. Well, Clover Studio was the original studio.
Yeah, but I think they founded it like he re
Yeah.
I don't know, like something to do with that. But
Well, I was playing Beautiful Joe 2 the other day, which is also a Kamiya game and from Clover Studio, but also
mm,
Capcom. But then they formed Platinum later.
yeah.
But I just think it's really cool to bring this back. This is kind of like a fanboy dreams thing. Like it's something that no one ever expected. It's practically 20 years later, more I think, because it's
Well, there
2025.
was Okami Den, which is a different. It's like
The
the
3DS one,
yeah.
yeah. And this, when did the Okami 1 come out? 2004, like
Let me.
2005, I think.
I'll look it up.
I think it was 2005, end of PS5, PS2's life.
2006.
2006. Wow. So
Yeah.
this is gonna be like nearly 20 years later. I think the first one didn't sell very well, and that's why they're kind of surprised it's coming back. But I just really look forward to, for one, the Kamiya makes great games.
hmm
Um, I love the Bayonetta series. I love Beautiful Joe. And so I think that this is gonna have some of the modern sensibilities, maybe that the first one didn't have.
hmm
Also, I think a new a next generation approach to cell shaded graphics is really exciting.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, it's just like
I'll
yeah.
For sure. Like it's not gonna be another Soulsborne. And also I think just being a 3D adventure game with action is really exciting. Like it's just that prospect of like, oh, it's pretty rare to get a big open, not open world, but a big world 3D action game. It's pretty rare.
I'm curious how they're going to, if this mechanic even comes back, which I assume it would, is the drawing mechanic and the battling. Like I'm curious how they would do the drawing, whether it be the touchpad or the motion controls or
Well, PS2 handled it fine with the analog stick.
oh, that's right. It did have the analog stick. I forgot.
So, who
Yeah.
knows? You're right though. I mean, at the end of the day, having options would be great. Having a gyro aiming, analog stick,
Or a swipe.
touchpad,
Yeah.
touchscreen on the Switch 2, Joy-Con on the Switch 2, even using the Xbox Kinect for Xbox,
hmm
standing there and doing this in the air.
But at the end of the day, like the thing I'm most excited for about that game is exactly what you said, is we don't get enough cell shaded, vibrant color games, especially outside of Nintendo. So like games that are really pushing hardware. Like the Switch is old, where the games still look great, but there's a difference between, a Switch game versus a PS5 game that looks this way. So I am looking forward to just like that pop,
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's probably after Split Fiction and Ninja Gaiden, my number three.
All right, so I think now we should start with the biggest game,
Uh,
Tales of the Shire.
yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. The one there it takes place in the Lord of the Rings Shire.
Yeah, where it's like basically you build your house as a hobbit.
You know what? They brought that girl from the Cozy Game TikTok channel on,
Yep.
and I actually had seen her channel before.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the number one game. Is there not much else to talk
Yeah,
about?
I think that
Uh,
kind of wraps up this episode.
I didn't know you were gonna say that one. I think you're gonna say Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, which
I skipped that trailer. I don't even know if it looked good
I
or
think it's
not.
just a CG trailer. But I'm excited to bring in a new a new Sonic Racing because it's a decent series. It's been fun. I mean, I've played it with friends. I never owned one. Actually, I did own the one for Wii U, but I didn't play it very much.
And it'll tie you over till Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, which is launching with Switch now, according to the rumor.
Yeah, the rumor.
Anyways, it's good. I'm glad that Sega's doing well.
Mm,
I mean, it's when in a world where one of the things, just side note, this Game Awards really made apparent to me is that Japan is really leading the way now.
agreed, yeah.
It's like overwhelmingly obvious, and like here we have studios like EA and Ubisoft floundering, and you're hearing rumors about Ubisoft getting bought out. We
hmm
have Rockstar making one game every decade. It's just kind of like
I mean, Rockstar is, you can't deny that Rockstar, the game that they bring out is a juggernaut of sales
for
endlessly.
sure, but it's
Yeah.
just like it's just awesome that Capcom is firing on all cylinders, Sega's firing on all cylinders.
Nintendo.
Nintendo's not there, is who
I
knows?
mean, not right now, but I'm just saying they really they're kicking ass with the Switch.
Yeah, and like Square Enix, debatable, but they are releasing a lot of games, and people love the Final Fantasy VII games, which were
And
nominated,
not just
and
the Final Fantasy VII, but like, the Octopath games are well received. A lot of the re
Harvestella.
Yeah, like some of their remakes even are well received. So,
Yeah, I know Dragon Quest III HD is doing really well.
hmm.
Square didn't seem to be there as prominently.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
true.
but just like seeing Capcom there with so many games, and seeing even Namco Bandai was there with a few games. Actually, the main one they were there
That
with.
I want to talk about one of those games, Shadow Labyrinth.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about what's it called? Elden Ring.
Oh, that too. Yeah, but
Sh
Shadow Labyrinth is that like Metroidvania that where you have Pac-Man following you.
That's right. I forgot about that game. That looks cool.
That it just like I was like, oh, this is a kind of a cool take on Pac-Man.
It looks kind of wacky. It does look like one of those games where I will wait for reviews and wait for impressions. Like it could come out and be like the wickedest
T
indie style
Totally,
game, or it can come out and just be like whatever.
totally.
So I kind of was like, this is a neat idea. I don't quite get it. But I'm like cautiously optimistic on the side. Just a weird way to spin that. But Derek, do you want to talk about Elden Ring? Because I don't care about this, so I'm just curious what you
Yes.
think.
So there was a rumor that came out, or like I guess a leak that came out, I think maybe a few hours before that said there's a new Elden Ring game that's essentially Elden Ring cross Monster Hunter. So when this got shown, it really is looks like that. It looks like it's kind of a co-op 2 or 3 or 4 people party, and you do a little area and you fight one of the bosses from, there's new bosses, but I'm sure there's returning bosses too. Looks really cool. I mean,
Wait, that's all it is? It's like a,
I think it's like a Monster Hunter kind of game.
but you're fighting bosses that have already been in the series?
No, and new bosses too. But they're
Okay.
in the video. There were some bosses from not Elden Ring, but from like Dark Souls 3.
Oh,
So people
I
are like,
thought it
oh
was a
my,
whole new single player campaign that you could do co-op.
I don't think. I mean, again, who knows? But as far as the rumor and what it looks like it's more small sections Monster Hunter. You build your character. You group up and take on a boss in a quest. I really have no idea. That's just kind of what I was reading about.
Is it
Um,
DLC or is it a brand new game?
I read that it was a brand new thing, but who knows? I really have no idea.
And
It looks it look
the fact that it's ready for next year shows me that it might not be as a huge ambitious
Yeah,
project.
it could honestly just be a standalone DLC for all I know. Like you have to have Elden Ring to play it, but it looks cool. Like I definitely will give it a chance. Kind of like when God of War Ragnarok, the Valhalla update, or The Last of Us 2, whatever that one was called, the roguelite element. Like I like those little add-ons where it's like, oh, it's another game in a game I already love. So it's kind of nice to be like, oh, I'm down to play some Elden Ring with, some of my buddies. Let's go for it. I don't know if I'm going to be frothing at the mouth the way I would be if it was a new kind of standalone game.
Where like
Um,
Erd Tree, you played Legend of the Erd Tree?
Shadow of the Earth Tree. Yeah, yeah, loved it.
What's that? Okay.
It'll be high up in
Yeah.
my game of the year list for sure.
Wow. Even though it's DLC, it counts.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, big expansions count.
Okay. Well, what's another game that you have on your list, Because I've only got two more games on my list.
I mean, a lot of games, we talked about kind of the big games and the games I'm most excited for, but there are a bunch of games that are kind of that middle of the road that still look really cool to me. Like I'm thinking of like, the Mafia, the Old Country. I thought looked really good. Like I think it looks really cool. Borderlands 4 does nothing for me. I think I don't know about you. I
I don't care about that game at all. And
no reason. Yeah.
also, Outer Worlds 2 looks like it could be good.
Yeah, I never played the first one. One of my friends is playing it right now and says it's great and he's looking forward to it.
And this one being such a big evolution on it,
Looks like
is
a
cool.
good improvement. Um,
So there are
yeah,
two other games that are big, I think we should talk about.
okay, go for it.
So I'm gonna leave the biggest one to the end,
Okay.
but they have a game called Project Robot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This is
It's
from
hard. Yeah.
Ueda. He's the developer of Ico or Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and Last Guardian.
Hmm.
I love those three games. I love this guy's games. He's working with Epic on this one. Like he's not working with that kind of Sony studio.
Hmm.
So Epic's a big talented studio, and the trailer showed absolutely nothing. But it's exciting nonetheless. Like I thought he was like retired. I didn't think he's ever making a game again. And it looks like it's in the same style as, it's a little boy climbing a monolithic robot
Yeah.
mo giant. So,
I gotta say, y- your criticism as far as no gameplay, whatever, again agree with it on some levels, but for a 30-second trailer where it tells you nothing, this trailer had a lot of emotion behind it. I was like, oh, I'm really feeling the story already in this game. And I just know it's gonna be like I loved The Last Guardian. It's such a sweet game. And I
yeah,
love the Shadow of the
same.
Colossus too. I'm super excited for this. But again, we don't really know anything about it. This could be like a 2029 game for all we know.
Well, they announced The Last Guardian in what? 2007, and I think it came out in 2015.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. But I mean, who knows? He has obviously Epic is a very different studio and a lot more resource behind them probably.
yeah,
Um, well,
who knows?
yeah,
It's hard to be like,
it's a day one for me unless it crashes and burns. But
the thing is, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of these games on this list are actually like PS6 and Xbox. Well, I guess Xbox won't really exist by then. PS6
it's
games.
it's hard to tell though because the last game we're going to talk about, even though we saw nothing of it, just the trailer. People are saying it's been in development since 2020 and it'll be coming out in 2027, 2026. So I'm just
Yeah,
saying
that's different though. I think some of these other games like Witcher and Ueda's game are probably further off than.
but you got to think about what's the game when did Cyberpunk come out? 2020? 2021?
They're working on DLC, and I don't believe that CD Projekt Red is a massive developer like Naughty Dog.
I think they're pretty big. I think they're like 500 plus people,
Isn't Naughty Dog even more?
but they're working on multiple
Anyways, you're
games.
right. We
Anyways,
don't really know.
yeah,
But anyways, let's talk about the last game.
yep.
I'm gonna go first because so it's called Intergalactic: The Heretic Adventure or something.
The Heretic Prophet.
Heretic Prophet. It's Naughty Dog, so that gives it
Hmm.
some cachet. I think this looks, from what we saw, really stupid and terrible. Um, I am so sick of this 80s punk space aesthetic.
Like the Gal Guardians of the
It's like
Galaxy.
this looks like the Guardians of the Galaxy wannabe, just like Concord did, just like and just when they played the 80s song on a CD, I'm just like, this is cringe. Like you're just baiting 90s nostalgia. We know if you can fly through space, you're not using CDs. Okay, that's just so stupid. Like let's be honest. Like that's really, really stupid that they would still be using CDs. And it's like, oh, she's some cool nostalgia assassin. It feels like a 14-year-old came up with it. Just the whole idea, like just the sassiness with it was just a story trailer, really. The sassiness, the setting. There's nothing about this that appeals to me. The only thing I will say positive, Naughty Dog makes great games typically, so I know that the environments will be like full of rich detail. And I think that they'll nail the gameplay. And at the very, very end, you saw her holding a beam saber. And so if they can do some really cool third person sword fighting gameplay, like I can look past a cringy story. But
Hmm.
again, I just don't know what this obsession is with like, oh, we need to chase this Guardians of the Galaxy aesthetic. It doesn't I know they said they referenced Akira in Cowboy Bebop, but go watch Cowboy Bebop. That they did that right. And this looks like wannabe low rent Guardians of the Galaxy. So I would have rather see The Last of Us 2. I also would have rather see
Last of Us 3. Last
The
of Us
Last of Us
3.
3. I also would have rather see this exact same game, except minus all that cringe. Just go hard sci-fi. You don't need to give me cool punk sci-fi. So I'm kind of disappointed they're chasing that trope and that stereotype. And then the title and the setting looks like it was made by AI.
Yeah.
What did you think?
So I'll give my opinion in a sec. The one thing I will say is again, as far as I understand, this game's been in development since 2020, is what I was reading about. So you got to also think about it as, you know, they've already put 4+ years into developing this. And if that's the vision they had 4 years ago, Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as the game wasn't out and Concord wasn't announced, like
Guardians of the
I
Galaxy, the movies were out.
for sure. And they might be following that, but they might have thought they were the only ones that were like, hey, we're going for this. It wasn't that 80s futuristic sci-fi wasn't as um, you know, over the top as it is right now. wasn't as like,
like played out.
yeah, exactly. That's a good word. Played out. My
Well, it's just
opinion,
too bad that they're like not burning through an original vision, like what they did with The Last of Us in the zombie kind of type the
yeah,
zombie
felt
worlds.
new. Yeah.
It felt new and original and like sense like it actually felt adult. This just doesn't have that with the what they're showing us.
Fair enough. Um, I somewhat agree with you. I don't really care about the 80s sci-fi aesthetic as much as you. I'm just not a big fan of sci-fi space stuff in general. Like I really Starfield is nothing for me. Most kind of like Outer Worlds is nothing for me. I'm not a huge fan of the sci-fi. Give me modern day like The Last of Us or zombie, like give it a twisted dystopian world, great. Give me a fantasy game any day of the week, sure. Give me ancient Japan, whatever, feudalism, like give me some cool stuff going on. Great. Sci-fi, like space doesn't do much for me unless, maybe you're looking at Star Fox, but really it just doesn't do a lot
Well,
for
Star
me.
Fox is almost like a parody of space
Yeah, and like, I like
genre.
the Star Wars games that have been coming out lately, but I find the issue I have with sci-fi is it feels like every weapon at that point in a game should instantly kill everyone. Like, really, a laser gun should just win every fight, and a laser sword would just win every fight. Like, there's some point where power levels are so far in the future where if there's a wild beast in the jungle, like any single human that has a laser gun will kill that beast. Like, it just is a little silly. It's like, oh, now I have to use a sword and have to slowly whittle down its health. So, for some reason, sci-fi just doesn't do much for me these days. The one caveat I will say to that, though, is a lot of those sci-fi games I just mentioned are these open world, Starfield, just like procedurally generated planet, whatever. Just like feel like this endlessness of like, I want to see the whole game. I don't want to see, you know, 5,000 planets and only see 1% because it's all procedurally generated, all feels a little samey. And I think if I, think of the repertoire that Naughty Dog has, their games are, for the most part, quite linear. There's some kind of open sections in Last of Us 2, Uncharted 4, I think it's the Lost, what's the Uncharted game? The Lost,
The Lost Crown, is that what it's called?
That's the Prince of Persia game. Lost. Anyways, there's some open world segments, but I'm hopeful that I will like this game in the sci-fi it brings because Naughty Dog will kind of give it a smaller, streamlined scope and really flesh out the world that we are going down, as opposed to, again, Starfield, where it's like every planet, there's so many planets that it feels a little bit washed out and samey. Where this is like, oh, like we're in this one city in this one planet, and I'm like, I'm gonna feel because Naughty Dog knows how to do it that I'm like, I'm in this city and like there's actually a real city on this planet and there's like a world built because it's not open world, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I mean, I guess my problem with sci-fi in general, and I do like sci-fi, is that there's not enough what's called hard sci-fi. And I just don't know how I can get into a world that's as soon as sci-fi like this is like sassy and modern, and they're making like modern sarcastic quips, like we're used to hearing in Guardians of the Galaxy or on Earth. It just takes a lot of like the actual heaviness out of a story. And Naughty Dog's known for fairly heavy stories, at least with The Last of Us. And
Did you
so
like Starfield? Because that's a pretty hard sci-fi game.
the reasons I didn't like Starfield is because there was a load screen every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But as far as the setting went, I could have got into that. The story and setting it took itself seriously. So
What's
I could believe that.
and I know we haven't seen anything. I think there's actually a trailer coming out tomorrow. What are your feelings on the game Exodus, the Matthew McConaughey one that he talked about last year at the Game Awards?
I can't totally forgot about that until you just
Yeah.
mentioned it.
So I think there's a trailer coming out for that tomorrow. So maybe that might be what you're looking for. I think it'll be a little bit, you know, hero-y, but I think it'll still be a little bit more, a little less humorous Concord intergalactic.
I'm sorry, just like putting on an 80s CD, that
Yeah.
is just so cringy to me.
Like, do you think
Um,
does Destiny hit the right note for you, I guess?
the setting and the art style, yes.
Okay, I think Exodus is we closer to that.
Cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I can overlook a cringy story, but it's just like Naughty Dog's really known for their story. Like that's something that really pulls you in is the voice character, voice acting, the story, the mocap, and for it to fall this much on its face in the first 2 minutes is really disappointing. And
The only thing though is, we only know these 2 minutes, and I know it's kind of set the tone, but
Sure,
but but Naughty Dog is also one that like can totally turn games on their head as far as story goes.
but this studio is known for handling really good serious subject matter and doing realistic characters and fantastic performance and fantastic stories. Like they're really good at it.
But it still could be
So
good, is what I'm saying. We don't know.
yeah, but it's like I agree. Anything could be good. It's just like tonally off the top, it
Yeah.
looks very tongue in cheek. And it's like, oh, cool. I'm a nether assassin, badass chick who is loves the 80s for some reason and does her own thing. Like it feels like it was written by AI.
Hmm.
It feels very tropey, and I would actually just rather a really hard sci-fi where it's just very hard and realistic and well thought out.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's almost a cop out to be like, hey, let's make a really cool sci-fi movie. Oh, I don't really want to think about like all the realistic devices they have. Let's just make it like a 1980s punk kid, and people will accept that
Hmm.
because we've seen it before. Like, let's not actually think about what a person in space by themselves and how they would live. No, she's drinking coffee out of a straw and she's doing a CD jukebox and listening to 80s music and she's sassy with her one-eyed agent. Like, this is some Saturday morning cartoon stuff.
Hmm.
And I think it was very disappointing, and I'd rather them just cancel the whole thing and make The Last of Us 3.
I think they're making The Last of Us 3 too. I think this will be cool. I
I
think it'll
just
be
figure
fun.
after Concord failed, I feel like they should have delayed this trailer and they should have gone back and they should have revised some of that.
Yeah, again, people have talked about this before. The issue with games right now is they're such long projects by that the idea that you start with and roll with after a few years is no longer a good idea as far as like the what the mainstream is kind of in.
Well, that's why I think being original helps.
Yeah.
But I think being serious, which is something I feel is lacking in movies now too, like taking your own content, themes, story, plot, characters, and subject matter seriously will never be lame. It'll
Hmm.
never be lame to be like, no, this is a serious story. But if you're gonna be tongue-in-cheek and sarcastic and satirical,
Quippy. Yeah.
quippy, then you have to be kind of timely because yes, it gets tiring after a while.
Hmm.
And notice how something like Metroid's never felt weird or out of place because it takes itself seriously.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Fair
So
enough. Yeah.
just when it comes to a setting, I find it,
Could you
yeah,
can you imagine Samus had like some quippy lines like to Ridley?
no.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can. And I think the thing like something like GTA sort of gets away with it because they have gotten a little more serious with number five. This number six looks like it's getting a little more serious, but it's just I don't know, tonally, it's like they seem like they're trendsetters in how their locations are setting. They're trendsetters in some of their ideas, but just in the way they tell their stories, they seem like they're trendsetters, and
Hmm.
so did Naughty Dog up until this game. Even Uncharted felt like, okay, well, like this is just kind of an Indiana Jones, but it felt like a modern, fresh take on Indiana
But
Jones.
even that is quippy, right? It's like mo a lot of their games are, besides The Last of Us, most of the games are quite quippy, sarcastic.
Yeah, and I
That
think
that
I,
is Nathan
I
Drake.
think in 2006 when Drake's Fortune came out, 2007, that made sense. And if you notice, by the time Uncharted 4 came out,
It got a little more
it was a
dark and
little more
serious.
serious and dark, and it really got almost heavy emotionally. So they kind of took themselves seriously. The Last of Us never was quippy. And I guess if they release something like Jack and Daxter now, it'd be full of quips. But even that, depending how they do it, might be off-putting. I don't know.
Hmm.
I really, this is my problem in all multimedia, actually. It's not just video games, it's movies too, and TV shows. I am so sick of something being quippy and satirical. It feels like a cop-out because people don't want to tell serious stories and they want to appeal to 12-year-olds. And I just not into it.
Hmm. Fair
So,
enough. I mean, I don't disagree with your opinion. I just
yeah.
it's Naughty Dogs is one of the few studios where they could show me a black screen or like a clown dancing on screen, and I would have faith that it would be a good game.
I mean, I'll still probably, I mean, the game's probably going to be great and I'll still play it, but I'm just disappointed that this is the 7 year wait.
Yeah.
But what's the online discourse, Derek? Like, you've been probably more attached to the Reset era scene and seeing what people are saying. Like, what are people saying about this game? What are people saying about the other games?
I honestly haven't been following it too much. I've been quite busy the past few days. I know people are super stoked for the Ueda game, like the I think it's called Project Robot is kind of the
Yep.
name of it right now. Um Again, kind of those big games that no one was expecting, Virtua Fighter, Okami, Onimusha, people are like really stoked for. Witcher 4, people are kind of stoked for. I haven't actually read a lot about Intergalactic. So I
I
don't
saw a
know.
little on YouTube, people unhappy about it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go back and kind of look at it now. Slay the
Lots of
Spire,
comparisons to Concord.
yeah. Okay, really. I'm sure.
Stylistically, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. Again, they have such a good kind of name behind them. Um, but
What,
again,
Concord?
Slay the Spire 2 and Split Fiction, I think were also really well received.
Split Fiction, game of the absolute show.
Really,
He won Game of the Year at the same show. He showed up with the game, and the biggest things for me,
he
release
didn't win.
date.
He didn't win Game of the Year.
I thought It Takes Two won Game of the Year three
Oh,
years
It
ago.
Takes Two won. Sorry, I think you meant this show he won.
No, It Takes Two 1 years ago.
Yeah,
Then
yeah.
he comes back to the same award show a few years later, announces a brand new game, shows gameplay, has a release date, and has appealing looking gameplay that looks fun and not I don't know, just looks fun and interesting
Well, I'm looking forward
and
to it.
new.
Yeah,
So
he makes good
uh
games.
yeah, and he seems like a cool guy. He's got a really good looking wife as well. He pointed it out. He mentioned it. He goes,
Okay.
"Yeah, my wife is beautiful." Well, that's something that we were saying in the room, like, "Oh wow, his wife is beautiful." And then he goes, "I know my wife is hot," or whatever he said.
Hmm.
So Derek, what would you give this show out of 10?
It's funny. I went into this podcast with a higher rating than I think I'm going to give it now, just because I don't mind the later release dates, but it's not like like you're saying there is a lot of CG in 2026 beyond games. A lot of those games, I'm like, damn, that's really cool. I'm like glad that's back. Like Okami, I'm glad, but it's not a lot of those games where I'm like looking forward to in the next 6 to 8 months. I wish Hollow Knight Silksong was there, of course. Slay the Spire did a lot for me. Split Fiction did a lot for me. Something honestly, the indie games kind of carried it because they had real gameplay. They had better, more likely release dates to come out. I give it a, I give it a 9, 8.5.
Yeah, I'd probably give it the same. I was disappointed a little bit not to see more upcoming games. Like I
Yeah,
think Evolved from Xbox could have had a really cool trailer. So
evolved,
not Evolved,
avowed.
Avowed. So they could have come out and said, "Look, Fable looks awesome, August 25th." Konami could have come out and said, "Look, Metal Gear Solid 3 looks awesome,
Resident Evil 5 or
February
9 or
25th."
something.
Yeah, are these games that it seems to me it actually feels like there's not anything coming out in 2025.
Oh, I
Um,
think there's a lot coming out in 2025.
it's just based on this showcase. Where were those 2025 games?
Totally, that's what I do agree with.
And how
But
come Death Stranding wasn't there? Hey, awesome new trailer coming May 5th. Like, give me dates.
Pragmata, OD, there's a lot of games that weren't shown.
Totally.
But it's curious, like, does that mean those games are really far off, or is it those games aren't shown because they're closer than a lot of these games are shown? Because a lot of times this is shown as those really far off games, and then come February, March direct of or a showcase or a state of the play, and we see some of those games come back, and those will be our October, November games.
Just try to I mean I'm not a marketing expert, but in my layman brain, I don't understand why showing a CG trailer for a game 4 years away here is worth your marketing dollars, and showing a gameplay ready to go with a trailer at the end, or sorry, a release date at the end, is not worth your marketing
But I
dollars.
think it goes back to the word you use all the time, which is that mind share, where sure it's not hugely on their mind, but The Witcher 4 for the next 4 years, people there will be people all over in different groups talking about it. When the new season comes out, people will be talking about The Witcher 4. When the new book comes out, Witcher 4. When then like it's gonna be omnipresent for the next 3 or 4 years when the game comes out. Where if you drop it 6 months, sure, but people would have been, bummed or waiting for those 4 years. Like there is a fine line. Like I think 4 years is a lot, and if we look at Silk Song, it's been years and we haven't heard anything. So I think there is a too far is not good, but I think it's okay to have a few years of people kind of having that percolate on their mind. I don't know where that best
I'm
that best
not
balance
saying
is.
showing them is a problem. I'm just kind of saying how is showing a game coming soon a bad decision? Like I think if anything was coming in the first half of the year, why not show us a wicked gameplay trailer? I don't understand. Why not show us a game? If Death Stranding is coming before June, why not blow us away with
But
how that game
but
looks?
that could also be working the opposite way too, where like, Geoff Keighley is saying, I don't want to see Avowed. Avowed has been showed all year. Show me something. I want to show something new. Right? Like there is a discussion where
Well, Avowed, yes, but Death Stranding 2 could have easily been shown, and I think Metal Gear Solid 3 could have as well.
totally. I'm just saying there is a kind of a bit of the other side of that too, where people Jeff wants to show new games, the brand new trailer of Jeff wants to say this is the first look, world premiere of like
Sure, I think at the end of the day they can pay enough money they can get in the thing. Um,
you just said it how it was already too bloated.
no, but I think that's based on the present how the show is designed. But I think if someone's willing to pay the amount of money to get their trailer in, they can get their trailer in. I don't think Jeff
Yeah.
Keighley's saying no, that game's not exciting to me. But it's like Split Fiction is coming in March. It was shown off. I can look forward to that. I can now talk about that. I'm excited about it. I'm gonna forget about most of these other games and wait till previews come out. So I guess it just makes me kind of feel like I don't have much to be that excited for in the first half of the year for Xbox or PS5.
But I will say that there are quite a few games that we didn't talk about that are coming next year. Like the first Berserker Kazan, I'm just going through the list. Like Mafia, the Old Country, I think is coming out next year too. Um, Fragpunk. Like there are games that were shown that are coming out next year. Um, so it's not like, it's not like those games weren't shown too. We just focus on the big ones, and the big ones
You're
always do
right.
these.
And I think also Turok Origins looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it looks cool too. I just
I'm
hope
into
it's
that.
I hope it's not like
Games as a service.
like MMORPG co-op only kind of
Same.
crap. Yeah, like I want a
I
little bit of a story too.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of looked like a little bit of like, hey, you go into this big arena and fight a boss with your friends and then go
Yeah.
and pay a bunch of money for upgrades in the menu.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at too.
Kind of lame. I bet you that's what it is. Um, okay, Derek. Well, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about, or that seems like pretty much a wrap on the Video Game Awards 2024?
Yeah, that's it. I think we're now just heading into 2025 and let's ask the quick question, one sentence answer. Big most excited thing you're looking forward to in the 2025, and if it's Switch 2, which it obviously is, other than Switch 2.
Well, I was gonna say the announcement of Switch 2. Um, for me, the biggest thing I'm excited for in 2025 is playing Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake on my PS5.
Wow, interesting.
I just love that game, and the remake looks r beautiful graphics, and I'm so excited to revisit that game on a PS5 controller on my OLED TV, and I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot to be excited for, in my opinion,
Hmm.
for next year.
Like I was gonna say Silk Song or something, but that isn't confirmed to come next year. I'm gonna say
Metroid Prime
that's
4
what I was
then.
gonna say Metro Prime 4.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna probably end up playing that on Switch too.
You're not gonna play on Switch 1?
It
If it
depends when
let's
it
say
comes out.
yeah, I think I'm gonna play on Switch 1 and then again on Switch 2. I don't think I can
It
wait
depends when it comes out. I wouldn't be surprised if it
a launch
comes
game.
after the like I wouldn't be surprised if Switch 2 comes out in May or June, like they're rumoring, and then Metroid comes out in like August or September for both.
Fair enough, yeah. I'm just looking at any games that are coming out in 2025 that I'm looking
I
forward
did
to.
want to ask Derek. So I saw
Yeah.
some people online talking about Nintendo deciding not to be at the Game Awards like at all. I think they had one little third-party showcase,
Hmm.
but they like blatantly weren't there. And some people think they should have been. Do you have any thoughts?
I so again, if this rumor online is true, the January is when we're gonna see the Switch 2. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think I'm okay. I think, Nintendo already knows they have a lot of cards in their hand as far as when they show the Switch 2. I don't think they need to throw any games on this. I think they are like, we have enough awesome games to show when we show the Switch 2. Why are we going to kind of dilute what our show is going to be in 2, 3 months or whatever when we could just,
But even Switch 2, why don't they just show Xenoblade Chronicles X or something?
but again, like that goes back to maybe they want to put that in their Switch 2 preview, right? Like I don't know, like I just think the more they can kind of pile onto their one showcase, the better it will look for the Switch 2. Where if a game or two we're like, oh, we already saw those like a month or two ago, it has a little bit of different effect.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's almost a boss move for them to just be like, we don't need this show,
Yeah, exactly.
which is cool.
So, the last thing I just want to mention that wasn't there that I thought might have been shown is the Insomniac Marvel's Wolverine. I'm
That would have
surprised that
been cool.
yeah, I'm surprised that that wasn't there. Anyways,
I was
overall,
hoping I was hoping Metroid Prime 4 would be there. I mean, how awesome would a Metroid Prime 4 trailer releasing in April or something? I would have been very happy.
I wish there was a Metroid Prime 2 remaster trailer even.
Shadow dropped.
Yeah, that would have been great.
I mean, there's a rumor right now that that's coming, and so
Mhm.
is Kirby Project Robobot, Planet Robobot for
Oh,
Switch.
cool. Nice.
Yeah, and so people are also saying January Switch 2 reveal right before the investor meeting, and that they also think there might be one more, one more Nintendo Direct focused on Switch games.
Hmm.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Well, anyways, Derek, I think we're out of time.
Yep.
That's Nintendo Bros. Pete signing out.
This is Derek. See you later.